People say history is written by the victors, but I always thought, what if the real story is in the technology that made them victors? A weapon so good, the other side just doesn't stand a chance. For centuries in India, the real arms race wasn't about swords or cannons, it was about horsepower, literally. And I'm not just talking about one horse, we are talking about a clash between two legendary breeds that completely redrew the map of subcontinent forever. Hey everyone, Mansab here, and welcome to Simply Wild. The whole reason I started this project was because I kept finding these incredible stories where wildlife and history collided, and I just had to share them. And today's story is the perfect example about that. Well, it's about how the entire destiny of India, the fate of these massive kingdoms, didn't rest on the shoulders of kings, but on the powerful backs of their horse. So let's talk about warhorse. When I say that word, you are probably picturing this giant knights in shining armor, right? Like big European chargers with the lance and everything. Well, we had none of that. India had its own four-legged warrior, the Marwari horse. And this horse was just different. The first thing you notice is its ears. They are these incredible curved things that turn inward and they can swivel up to 180 degrees. The legends say that they were like a little satellite dishes, which, okay, might be a bit slight exaggeration from the poets, but you get the point. These ears were a serious piece of a high tech biological kit. But it really wasn't just about the ears. The Marwari was just tough, incredibly brave, and loyal to a level that's almost hard to believe. For the Rajput clans, this wasn't just an animal, it was a partner, a sahayak, just pure, unadulterated loyalty. And to really get what this horse was about, you have to hear the story of Chetak. You must have heard it before, but listen it again. This, for those who don't know, Chetak was Maharana Pratap's horse. The Battle of Haldighati, 1576. Chetak gets badly wounded, but sees his master is in trouble, so he rears up and plants his front hooves on the head of a war elephant, so as the legend goes. Think about that sheer now. An elephant is basically a tank. Chetak clearly didn't get the memo that he was supposed to be scared. He gives Maharana Pratap the shot he needs, and then after all that, he carries him across a river to a safety before finally collapsing. That one image just tells you everything. This wasn't just a horse, this was literal brother in arms during the battle. So India had this incredible native horse, but history is never static. There's always a disruption coming, and in this era, a new kind of horsepower, a new military technology began to pour in from the north, and it was about to change everything. So, for a long time, the Indian way of war had a set formula. You had tons of foot soldiers, and of course, the big guys are elephants, the original super heavy battle tanks. By the way, if you want the full insane story of how they shaped India, I have already done a whole deep dive podcast on it. I'll link it down below, I'll add some link here. You should definitely check that one out after this. Anyway, the cavalry, mostly on smaller native horses, were there for support. This system was predictable. It worked. Or so they thought. It's that classic if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. The problem is, history is usually shaped by the person who shows up with something that is very broken. And for the other guy, it's the classic rock, paper, scissors of warfare. You have spent centuries perfecting your rock, and the other guy just shows up with paper. It's incredibly frustrating. The invaders from the northwest brought a whole new military philosophy, all built around their horse. These were bigger, stronger breeds from Central Asia, and they were bred for one specific devastating tactic: mounted archery. Just think about that. You got a soldier on a fast horse with a powerful bow he can ride in, fire a volley of arrows, and be gone before you guys can even figure out what's happening. It basically broke the rules of engagement. All the Indian infantry are standing there with their swords and the spears, ready for a proper fight, and just the enemy is hitting them with the angry, pointy arrows from 100 yards away. Yeah. The demand for these horses exploded. It became the most important strategic import, like buying fighter jets. Seriously, you couldn't just pop down to a dealership for the top of the line warhorse. This was a high stakes international arms business. The game had changed, and the horse was on the new king on the board. That's there is some chess reference there.
अरे कहना क्या चाहते हो?
So this wasn't just a theory, right? Like this clash of horsepower had a real bloody consequences, and the proof is in the battles of Tarain. In the first battle, 1191, the Rajputs under Prithviraj Chauhan actually won, and you can just imagine the feeling, right? A huge sigh of relief. Okay, crisis averted. Our traditional way is still the best. Spoiler alert, crisis was in fact not averted, not even close. A year later, Muhammad of Ghor came back, but this time he leaned into his advantage. His mounted archers didn't fight head on, they just swarmed and harassed the Rajput army with hit and run tactics. It's hard to have a honorable and chivalrous sword fight when the other guy just refuses to get off his horse and is busy turning you into human pincushion from a safe distance. Yeah, it's just rude, really.
This is the worst.
You see this again and again in the history. In the first battle of Panipat, 1526, Babur, the first Mughal emperor, shows up with the superior cavalry and cannons, and it was a total mismatch. Lodi brought an army built for last century's war, and Babur brought the next century's weapons. It's like showing up to a drone fight with a really, really nice sword. You might look cool, but it's not going to end well. The writing was on the wall. If you had better horses, you usually won. So, what happens after the dust settles? Well, the Mughal Empire basically professionalized the whole business of war horses, and they set up these massive imperial stables called as the Paiga. But what about the Marwari horse? Did it just get forgotten? Not a chance. And this is where the story gets really beautiful. For the Rajput kingdoms, the Marwari became an even bigger symbol of their pride and identity. So the Marwari essentially got a forced retirement from the military and a promotion to a cultural icon. Its new job description was look majestic and be the subject of epic poems. Honestly, a pretty sweet deal. Better food, no arrows, a solid retirement plan, all things considered. It became a horse of heritage. So you end up with these two incredible legacies, the imported horses that were a technology that built empires, and the native horses that became a symbol of cultural pride that would just never die. It's just a fascinating story, really, of how one animal can leave such deep but different hoof prints. Sorry, I had to do that. On a nation. From the unbelievably loyal Marwari steed to the game-changing Turkic war horses, the story of India really has been written on the backs on under the hooves, of these incredible animals. It's wild to think, like how something fundamental like what kind of horse you ride could literally decide who rules and who doesn't. And that makes you wonder what other everyday things are secretly shaping our world today. Probably more than we think, probably more than we realize. But that's our expedition for today on Simply Wild. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and if you made it this far, you are clearly a nerd like me. So, before you gallop off to your next video, do me a huge favor. If you enjoyed this, share this with your friends, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you don't miss my next rambling episode. That's it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.